What's up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Please follow my Instagram at Russo Lifts, just in case something happens to this YouTube channel. You can follow, message, and you can watch my daily story content on Instagram. I'll see you there. What's up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Coach reveal time here with Alec Matrivsky. So me and Alec have made content in the past. I'll throw up a little clip. So Alec is one of the underground biohackers that doesn't really want the attention, doesn't want the clout, but too bad. He's coaching me. I'm giving it to him. He deserves it. And I'd much rather see everyone follow Alec than some of the dumb fucks in the fitness industry. But this is, the introduction call. Moving forward, we are going to be doing a legitimate podcast. So be sure to comment down below what type of topics you want to see, what you want to see us cover. And we will be getting a legitimate podcast microphone setup. I understand that the audio is bad on both ends. I'm just recording a Skype call, and I will be getting a USB microphone as well as Alex. So the podcast will have much better audio than this, but we're just giving it a test run, how it's going, and, let everyone see our interaction between each other. So I've known Alec around 4-ish years online, 4 or 5 years online, and yeah, pretty much the same story. He was very small, got extremely, extremely shredded. I'm pretty sure Derek, More Plates, More Dates, highlighted that Alec is one of the few people, I think, to legitimately achieve, what was your body fat percentage at the end?
Approximately 3%.
3%. I believe it because, you look like a skeleton. So, and you had no fat in your feet.
No, none at all. It hurt to even walk, so I was showering with my socks on because it hurt just from my feet touching the ground. And I also got a pillow and I put it under my ass, during dinners with my family, and it looked very awkward, but otherwise, my ass hurt very badly.
So yeah, Alec's been super freaking shredded. I'll throw up a picture of him, extremely when people throw around they're shredded, in the back of my head, it's nothing like what Alec achieved. That's true. Holy shit, that's freakishly shredded. And now, what's your current weight right now?
I'm around 275, 276.
At what height?
6'1.5" almost. Yeah.
So he's been on both sides of the spectrum. People always bitching oh, you're shredded, but you're never big. And then now you're big and you're not shredded. Alec's done it all already. And what is your current age?
I'm 24.
24 years old. So Alec and I, I've always been in the public with biohacking, but we are two of the youngest biohackers that have the knowledge base to achieve elite biohacker status 10 years down the road, I'd say.
Exactly.
But this is going to be a great, I'm super happy that I'll say it out on a limb. I was going to try and get Vigorous Steve. I reached out to Vigorous Steve. Vigorous Steve is a full-time influencer nowadays and doesn't want to coach anyone. Have nothing against that, but I honestly think it was a blessing in disguise because I think the content and the age, of both of us will bring a lot of content down the road.
Yeah, I agree, and also we're more relatable to our audience. In our age gap and also what we're trying to do, just not just through bodybuilding and outside of it. So we'll get into that during the podcast. But I think it's gonna be a very good crossover nonetheless.
Absolutely.
And this has also been in the works for probably a year or more. We just other things have been preventing us, but now it's happening. So, I think it's the right time, especially with your prep.
Yes. Super relatable to Alec. Me and Alec both went through, hardship at the same time, both got over hardship at the same time, and we both, walked the walk as far as that is concerned. So we will be in the podcast, not just doing PED content. I know everyone wants to see PED content, and this is why you follow us, but we'll be doing whatever type of content we want on that podcast, and I'll just chop it up into topics so you guys don't have to sit there for an hour. But moving forward, me and Alec will be bouncing all over the place, but this video is the official contest prep. So I came to Alec after Vigorous Steve denied me for obvious reasons, right? I think Alec The thing is, Alec, with these contest coaches, they don't give a fuck about you unless you're an elite pro. If you're not
Exactly.
an elite pro and you approach them, they're just like you're just like income for them. You're just idle income. I'm not going to get any attention.
But the way I see it is that if you take somebody that's a nobody, and the more they look like shit, if you're legitimately good and you transform them, that's gonna be the best advertisement for yourself. It's not impressive to to have progress with Ronnie Coleman, for example. Like he would be Mr. Olympia no matter what. The real challenge is when somebody has problems like lacking body parts or cannot get into contest shape, and when you achieve greatness with them, that speaks volume for your knowledge, basically. So I think they're looking at things really wrong, and is there flaws? So I don't care. That's why I'm here, and we'll expose that.
And you are available for coaching, right? You still have current slots open.
Yeah, I do actually. That was my goal this year to, get back into coaching more because I've been focusing on other things outside of bodybuilding. But right now I have more time, so might as well make the most out of it. So yeah, especially for people that are prepping, those are my favorite type of people to work with. Although they're the hardest, but they are most rewarding when I see amazing results with them. So yeah, the more serious you are, the better for me.
And you coach out of passion, right? This isn't like your sole income and you're like trying to cash grab off my channel, right?
No, not at all. Like I told you, I didn't even want to do things. Like I didn't want the cloud at all. I think it's very toxic to a certain extent. I see people even in your comment section, hating on you. Um, so I didn't want that upon myself. I've been dealing with real problems in real life. So I was like, you know, the whole crowd that this attracts is really not my thing. But you mentioned that you make a huge difference in audience that really respect you, that utilize what you're saying, and make the most out of it with them. So I was like, it's very selfish to keep this within ourselves. So it's more so to get the information out there, and if we have somewhat of a return rate, then that's great. But it's more of a responsibility once you have the info, right? It would really be ungrateful to just keep it as it is, and especially when there's a sea of toxicity. You cannot hate on people that are being toxic and hate on people that are scamming without providing a legitimate alternative. So in order to do that, you have to be in that crowd to stand out. So that's something that really I want to focus on this year.
Yeah, I know you don't want the clout, and that for every three haters you get one supporter that you change your trajectory for the rest of your lives. And it would be
Exactly.
really, really sad
Yeah.
if you didn't get to impact people on a massive scale because it stinks. Like I'm angry because like me and Alec will have like an hour phone call and I'll be like,
Yeah.
yo, this was a podcast.
Right.
Like, oh my
Right.
God. So I'm really happy that you are stepping outside of your comfort zone. You are getting on camera and you're
Yeah.
going to embrace all the attention you're about to get because there's no, like, I've been fat for so long. I've been bulked up for so long. This
Yeah.
cut, there's no way attention will not occur to
Yeah.
you from shredding
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, yeah. Not only that though, like outside of that, the content, even our podcast that would be completely different from bodybuilding, to a certain extent, like that would open people's eyes in different aspects. Because just being enhanced in, you cannot call yourself being enhanced if you're just doing it in one area. You want to maximize and
Mhm.
capitalize on everything, on your business, on your relationship, on your goals, on your views in life. So it's not like if you're just binding yourself to one aspect, then you're just a meathead that's self-absorbed and just does one thing. So in order to actually maximize yourself, you have to be more than just one thing. And it's the same principle, it's the same viewpoints, it's the same ideas. You just have to learn to canalize them, to channel them into other fields. So a lot of these things are um, you know, uh, they go hand in hand with IQ and also education. I've realized that I also met a lot of people that are in this industry that are really just they have poor have poor knowledge, that they haven't read a fucking book, to be honest with you, and that's why the quality of the content that they provide and what they stand for and what they present is really poor, and people look up to them, and it just mimics you know mediocrity to a big extent. That's why the whole industry is getting fucked, and it's getting a bad reputation over time. So in order to make that change, you have to be that change. So that's how I look at things. So I'm glad we're doing this, and we'll just utilize this whole contest prep thing to just draw attention, but we'll just channel that to other things. So we'll see, but I have high hopes for this, and I know it would be great. And also with you, I'm really stoked to see you actually being absolutely shredded, because people have no idea what's about to come.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you bring up like how the industry's fucked and like basically in the industry it's still like the change is starting to happen, but it's like it's the big dude. Like they just look at the physique,
Yeah,
they think the knowledge is there. What the change is happening now is like you have like us who like started as nerds,
right,
built the physique,
right,
and have the brains to back. And
exactly.
now it's like these guys who are older who just have the brawn are
Mhm.
getting angry with the guys with the brains, essentially, is what I see.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, and I mean, you know, why be mad? It's kind of like we see it in other things as well. Like even to tell your elders, for example, about things like crypto, things like that, something that's new to them, they would be, oh no, get away from that. So people, older generations are like that, and that's fine. The problem that I have with is the new generations, our generation, that are really not stepping up to the plate. They're not leveling the game up. They're doing the same shit all over again, just doing more of the shit essentially. That's why we see so much abuse in every aspect, in drugs, in everything. Just do more of something, which is not necessarily optimal, and it can be also counterintuitive. So that's the problem. I don't care about the older generations. I'm more concern about our generations and the other ones to come. When I see younger kids that are ours, right, it's getting more and more fucked up, especially with social media, with the trends, with TikTok. I'm like, holy shit, that these kids never played football, they've never been beaten in their life, they don't read books, they don't do shit. So what kind of people would they grow up to be, and then how would their kids end up to be? Like, that's the scary part. Where's the cap on this? It's getting so extreme where it's like, where do you go from this? Like, we're even in bodybuilding, we used to be in not long ago in an age where people are lying about their status, that they were like, oh, I take nothing, basically creatine and BCAs, and then now you have people saying like, I shot like 13 grams of gear a week and did this much of growth hormone, this is the way. Like, where do you go from that? It's scary. So, the truth and the real way you go about things is somewhere in the middle, because these all of these are extreme opposite, extreme end of the spectrum. Either one is lying and hiding the truth, and the other aspect is just abusing and utilizing everything and in excess, right? And that's why we see deaths in bodybuilding. That's why we and also things we don't see at all. So people are not coming out with their problems until we hear about them from their doctors or when they're dead.
Right.
So you don't know like what people are going through, right? So you made the videos about your depression, for example, that were not related to bodybuilding drugs, but I'm talking still like they see your profile, they see what you present, but they don't know what's going behind the scenes. So people have no idea what was actually going behind the scenes with anybody, right? With the whole industry. So everything is really fake. So, and I'm not gonna pound my chest and say, oh, I'm the realest, this and that. That's also bullshit. When you're real, you don't say it. Just present.
Exactly.
But yeah, these are issues that have to be brought up, and also over time dealt with, just by pure leading by example. That's the only way. So yeah, that's how we see things.
So let's tangent into the actual title of the video, which is the prep. So I've
Right.
come to you, never competed in my life, and I've only like been like recomp body level fat. You know, I would get my insulin sensitivity back, and then I'd be like, well,
Yeah.
I don't have enough tissue for stage weight.
Right.
I'm finally at the point where I have enough tissue to do a local show. What's the game plan?
Okay, so first we need to determine how many weeks you'd actually need to get into shape. You know, a lot of people underestimate how fat they're at the beginning of prep, and they also underestimate how hard it is to actually get to that percentage. You know, like there's a like a huge difference between being Instagram shredded and actually stage shredded. And without shredded glutes, I don't want to see you on stage, bro. So like that's a whole different ballgame, you know, because once you step up and when you raise the bar, like you know, it's gonna be a different ballgame. So um, gauging by your physique right now, although you haven't sent me, you know, actual photos, but just on your Instagram, I would say that you'd need around like 18 weeks of effective prep.
Hmm.
And we also have to be more conservative, and also we want to keep ourselves, you know, perhaps more weeks rather than less, and chase the you know, the contest. So, like, I want to see you at like three weeks out. People should be asking you, how did you place? You know, like that's when you know, it's getting real. And I also wanna you know intervene with this is that like pros, for example, you hear this often. Like I was shredded throughout whole prep. I looked amazing, but then peak week fucked me up. You hear this very often. It
Hmm.
was the jet lag. It was the I don't fucking know, like the stress, this or that. Like, bro, if you're shredded out of your mind, if you're like 3% body fat, right? There's nothing you can do to screw yourself up within days. Nothing. Like you can whatever you do, no, nothing can even come close to ruining your physique. Even if your gut is somewhat distended, for like let's say you like eat something that your body does not tolerate well, you'll still be extremely shredded with just with some mild distension, you know, like that GH gut you see. But you
Hmm.
would have shredded glutes, you know, skeleton face, everything. Like if you're
Hmm.
fat on stage, it's not that you missed your peak, it was you were never in shape. And we see that
Hmm.
often. We see, if you look at the Olympia, like out of 15 open guys, maybe one or two guys are in actual, you know, shape.
Right.
And that's not the peak. That's not, you know, they are just not in shape. So going off of that, I would say, you know, about 18 weeks, we need to see which show is in that, you know, timeline. And then we'll also determine your deficit, the depth, like how aggressive we'll approach it. We'll see how your body responds. You know, if we go very hard from the beginning, we may risk, you know, some muscle loss or potentially metabolic adaptation. And although in the literature that word is not really, you know, seen, there's not a condition with like that, but we see people just do not lose weight when even severely calorically deprived, right? So we don't want to end up in that situation. Your body may fight you through, you know, thyroid inhibition or, you know, a
Hmm.
lot of pathways. So we want to have like a steady approach. But first, we'll determine the show, right? As far as speed is goes, you know, I cannot really say from right now like how things will go out. But my idea is at first, because you had the surgery, you were not blasting, right? So,
Dude,
uh,
I was cruising basically on nothing long before
right,
that surgery. So I definitely need to like hyper respond a little bit at this weight and then go down.
exactly. So how we do this is by utilizing high anabolic compounds, low androgenic. People
Hmm.
make the mistake of blasting androgens from the start. The problem with that is, like, for example, there were studies when they compared testosterone to trembolone. Trembolone tripled or even quadrupled the myostatin within 3 to 4 weeks versus testosterone because it's so androgenic. The more androgenic the compound, the more your myostatin will shoot up. So if you go guns blazing with high androgens from the start, you know, you will end up in a situation where you'll drive yourself in a corner in order to maximizing muscle tissue gains, even while you're either at maintenance or in slight deficit. We'll utilize NPP, right, or DECA, whatever you wanted to NPP in this situation, but whatever, the same compound. with a pure TRT level of
So
testosterone.
for all the for all the not educated people following, what's the difference between nandrolone, phenylpropionate, and DECA?
It's just the ester. It's the ester difference. So one is it's an undecylated ester. One is propionate, phenylpropionate. So it's just a difference in half life. So usually NPP is a smarter way to go about things because if you have side effects or something goes wrong, you just pull out faster. So that's why we're choosing NPP. As far as the testosterone goes, we'll just stick at like true TRT, which would be like 125 to 150. The whole idea of this is to just have a baseline of estrogen and not, overblown the estrogen with high testosterone doses. Because when nandrolone is present, which is a progestin, in the presence of estrogen, it can cause prolactin side effects, and also just being a progestin in the environment in a high estrogen environment, it can cause gyno. In your case, it won't because you don't have the glands, but still, and also it can screw your dopaminergic system. So you have like mad depression potentially. Some people don't get it, but you can get depression. And if that sucks, then what's the whole point? So we'll utilize those two compounds and use boldenone equipoise, which will be ran throughout prep. The reason why I choose boldenone is because it has a really good cosmetic effect over time as far as hardness, vascularity goes, and fullness. And also, it tends to really mitigate the water tension from nandrolone. So you're not gonna be really puffy and hard. You wouldn't breathe as hard. So it would really help you in that sense. And also we'll just stick with the boldenone throughout the cycles because you can use it throughout whole prep, and it's just gonna add to your look, right? So instead of like people utilize for example erythropoietin, right, EPO. Well, boldenone is EPO with just an anabolic effect because it has a very enhanced effect on erythropoiesis in the kidneys. So why not utilize it and get the most out of the cosmetic effects? And also, it's gonna bump your cardiovascular output more so cardio will be easier, and you have more endurance, and you that's very important. When you're gonna be doing a lot of cardio, right? So that's the game plan. Then we'll switch the NPP for train once you're capped on, once you stop gaining muscle and once we're deep into the deficit. We'll utilize Stren, and then towards the end, we'll just use DHT derivatives such as Mastron, Primo, whatever. We'll see in that situation, but probably just Mastron and maybe some Winnie like the last week or two of the show. Um, and also an important thing would be stimulants, right? So people usually utilize clenbuterol, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really hate Glen because it's a beta 2 receptor agonist, and it's a sympathomimetic drug, which basically means it mimics the actions of the sympathetic nervous system. So it's a
Right.
right. So it's a stimulant with the whole stimulant side effects, right? Increased heart rate, perspiration, anxiety. It's very noradrenergic. It causes increasing heart rate because although our heart has predominantly beta 1 receptors, it still has beta 2. So it's going to
Mm-hmm.
sing heart to beat faster, right? And you'll be in a chronic tachycardiac state, right? Although it does not have the dopaminergic and serotonergic effects of alpha agonists like ephedrine, for example, or DMAA, or those amphetamine type derivatives, that you want the dopaminergic stimulus from stimulant because that's what makes you hungry, for to train. It boosts your confidence. It makes you feel good. It decreases appetite, right? You want that peripheral vasoconstriction that would cause like less bloating in your stomach, for example, more awareness, more mental clarity. So why utilize a stimulant that without the positive adrenergic effects? So we wouldn't use it in clan. We'll go with ephedrine. Like that's my go-to. I really like it as far as maximizing energy, decreasing appetite, and giving that mental clarity that it provides. And also, when you have more energy, your non-exercise thermogenesis increases, which means that, for example, you're in prep and your body calls you to come over, for example, If you're deprived of energy, which you naturally would be, the likelihood of you saying no, I cannot come is very high. If you're high in energy, if you're stimulated, chances are you'll go and you'll have more caloric output basically by doing so. And those calories really matter. Like they could match or even surpass your cardio expenditure that you do active cardio in the gym, and you wouldn't feel it because you'll just move around, which would be natural to you. But in order for you to do that, you'd have to be high in energy. So the stimulants have a really big role in this. And also, like we keep hearing about the 90s and 80s conditioning, right? Well, back in
Hmm.
used a lot of drugs, like they were using cocaine, they were using amphetamines, and a lot of them from those days have had openly drug problems, as a result of preps. So not telling you that you would be like a drug addict, right? But I'm just saying, making a comparison from back from that time where people were shredded out of their minds. And we also hear that they trained for 2 3 hours and they did hours on cardio, in California, running, alongside the beach, right? Like you don't do that if you don't utilize stimulants. You just
Right.
don't. So that was their secret, that you know is really important. So we'll be utilizing everything like that, and also growth hormone. We'll utilize that at low doses because when we talked about growth hormone and peptides on the
Yeah,
last.
I'll link that video above. Me and Alec did a full one on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So the lipolytic effects of growth hormone are achieved in very small doses. You don't have to use 10 IUs, right? So you use like a 1.5 IUs, 1.2 IUs per injection to just capitalize on the lipolytic effects while you're being active. So pre-cardio, pre-high activity periods, right? So it's not gonna be a huge, growth hormone blast. It's gonna be micro doses timed properly, where you're just gonna utilize those calories being burned through, just lipolysis. So that's the whole rundown of the whole prep cycle, so to speak. We'll build up as we go. Obviously, it's gonna vary based off of your individual drug response on things that may come up, or we'll see. But essentially, that's my vision for the whole prep as far as drugs go. Dieting wise, we'll start, uh, you know getting in your macros, seeing what foods agree with you most, right? And then we'll make adjustments as you go. I'll calculate your essential fatty acid needs. The protein will not be super high. People, usually overeat on protein. You don't need like 3 grams of protein per pound of body weight, or silly shit people are doing, because
Yeah,
that's just
I've seen 4.5. I'm like, do you want kidneys?
like that's stupid. That's gonna just go towards gluconeogenesis. Uh,
Right.
gonna be stored as glucose, and either utilized as energy or being stored as fat. So, like protein is not like a free meal that you can just overeat, and you know it's just stupid. So the whole idea, and also you'll do blood work, before and throughout prep. So we'll see where you're at, right? Your liver, your kidneys, your GFR, everything should be in check. Your
Well,
blood pressure,
we'll do full videos where me and Alec will pick apart my blood work
right?
and
Right.
discuss harm mitigation. So
Yeah.
everyone who gets their blood work independently has a sort of idea of like what to go about instead of
Yeah.
harassing me and Alec individually.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, we'll cover things as we go. You know, everything that may turn up, we'll address. You'll vlog things. We'll go over things, but that's my general vision. And as I said, like I want you show ready weeks before this, the actual show. So in the end of the day, there's not gonna be anything fancy. You're not gonna use diuretics. You wouldn't like you're not gonna do any crazy shit. You'll just be ready on time, and that's it. And I think you'll
What
really well.
What are your individual concerns with me personally? Like, I think I like when a coach is like stupid blunt. So I know Alec doesn't sugarcoat anything. He's never sugarcoated anything in our friendship. But for the
Yeah.
video, what are your individual concerns?
I'm not necessarily concerned because I know you'll do it. I think that it's gonna be very hard for you in terms of the cardio,
Mm-hmm.
because you've I'm not gonna say you've never been there because you were, a decent marathon runner, right? So,
Yeah.
but the thing is that that was so long ago at a very different body weight, though. So I don't.
Mhm.
I think you'll have problems adjusting to it, but it's not that big of a difference. Like if I have people that are, I sent you a picture a few days ago of that
Yeah,
30
I'll throw that picture up. That
yeah,
how many
uh,
days is that in between?
30 exactly 30 days. And the kid came up to me and said, I have a show in around 14 weeks and I want to get ready. And I was like, holy fuck, how do you even look like this? But whatever. So now he's doing, hard cardio, the whole 9 yards. The changes are very rapid, obviously, but it's very hard. And I told him what he's signing up for. But when there's the will, and he has very subpar genetics, so it's not like it's easy for him. You saw how fat he was initially, so you're significantly leaner right now, and you're very muscular. So I know that towards the end, like you will look amazing, and it's not gonna be even that hard. But I expect initially for you to be kind of problematic to be accustomed to the whole process. But I don't doubt you. I don't doubt you. And also a concern would be your blood work. So I don't know how would you
Right.
respond to let's say trend, for example, right? I've seen people going to basically liver failure within weeks on trend. And I'm talking, conservative doses, like 300 mg per week. I had a friend that actually, like, his skin was yellow. He had jaundice. So it's very individual. And unless you do blood work and catch it early on, you'd never know. So that's the only concern, which is natural, right? It would be really stupid of me to say, oh, there's no concerns. Right, but all things said and done, I think it's not gonna be a problem to a big extent. So uh, it's gonna be interesting. And also, as far as the actual show, because you're tall, right? You're tall like me. I really want to see how they end up judging things, because it's very hard to judge somebody that is taller and shorter, right? So we'll see how that ends up. Whether they would, reward conditioning, where they would, go towards more fullness. So, it's all over the place. But what we can control is your actual look, your individual look. If you're shredded out of your mind, which is what everybody wants to see, well, not everybody. Some want you to fail and suck, obviously, but that's a different story. But I want to see that, Munzer type of look with the striations and everything. So once you're on, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the pictures, the videos will tell the story.
So I'm competing in classic physique. I think the weight limit, I'm around 5'11 and a half, 6 foot.
Right.
Currently, I went on MPP. I'm still going to acquire equipoise for everyone. So I dropped my test from 350 down to 200, 250, and then I'm on 400 MPP. Weight went from 233 to 238, which could be all the estrogen conversion dumping and all that stuff. I'm just
Also,
waiting.
nitrogen retention as well. I mean,
Right.
so that's expected.
Anyways, so I'm 238, right? The stage weight cutoff is 205. Alec and I agreed off camera that my actual stage weight will probably be around 193, correct?
Yeah, yeah, about so.
So
Yeah,
for like a general person like who wants to do a show, how are you calculating like okay, 193 Russo, that's in your
right,
head
right,
where you want to take me?
right. So the way I see it is, I look at your body fat, and I know how much of actual weight that would translate into once you cut it, how
Mhm.
how much muscle you actually carry. So I gauge it based off of myself, for example. I know. Are you here? Because you're scared. Okay, you kind of froze for a second. Um, so I have pictures when I was dieting down, and I know at what body fat, how much weight I had to lose in order to get that to that final stage. So I gauge based off of that. So I compare, people's before, somewhat similar to mine as far as body fat goes, and estimate how much pounds of fat they have to lose. So that's how I gauge it, because it's very tricky in the end. Like for example, at first you just fly off with the weight, you just drop weight like this, but that continues still around 10%.
Mm-hmm.
After 10 to 7% body fat, it's getting tricky. But to actually go from 7 to 3 4, like you're looking at additional 5 to 6 pounds, and I'm not even joking. So like you'd see somebody at 7 8% body fat, and you would say, oh, he's stage ready. But in order to get the glutes and everything extremely tight and striated, that's additionally 5 6 pounds easy. So that's why the number is kind of shocking at first. Like you would assume that you have like 205 207 pounds of stage weight, but once you get there you'll see like it's a very and it plays tricks on your mind. Like, am I this skinny really? But when you take off of your clothes and you see those details, they make a very big difference. And it doesn't matter the lighting, it doesn't matter your tan. Like at that stage, even in your dark they can see you. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference. That's why you have Hadi, for example, in the Olympia. They say, oh, the lighting sucked, this and that. He was fucking shredded, right? Everybody said like, wow, this guy is really amazing. The lighting was the same for everybody. That guy was in that shape, and that's what I'm talking about. When you're that shredded, there's nothing that can screw up your look. So because it's the same setting for everybody. So that's how I gauge things. um and also a tricky aspect would be actually reversing back from that
Right.
shape.
Right.
That's gonna be a challenge because I assume you will be, you're gonna be losing your mind at that point. So yeah, that's also the biggest challenge actually, and also reverting back from it, because once you're at that stage, your body and your mind, like you would see every line right, and you work so hard for, and then once you see those slightly disappear, like that can really screw your mind up.
Mm-hmm.
you know I got caught on into that trap, and that's why I stayed at that body fat for like a year almost. So and that was bad. So yeah, but I'll explain the whole process later on, once you're there. So it's not gonna be that big of a problem, but it's tricky for sure.
And for everyone watching, like I like that Alec touched on like because I came to him like 205 is the cutoff. I at least need to make it under 205. But visually speaking, like if I was 205 or 194 to the person's eyes, because I've watched like 10 shows, your eyes are gonna go to the
Yeah.
person who's 194, and you're
Yes.
gonna be like, that guy weighs 220 pounds. How did
Yes.
he make the weight?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Um, that's the thing. Like that's the illusion of being that lean. Now, also insertions play a huge role. Some people have those really freaky insertions where they look like 30 pounds above their actual weight. But conditioning also has a very big role in terms of how muscular you look. That's why people, and even girls, for example, that's why they pick skinny shredded guys and assume that they're very muscular because of the body fat. When you're shredded, that stands out really. And people just naturally are attracted, and they just look at that, even if they're not attracted, maybe they're disgusted by it, but they'll look at it,
Yeah, visually, yeah.
visually, because it's mind-blowing, right? The details. So um it's gonna be interesting. And also because your frame, because you're tall, so you'll be wider than the shorter guys. You'll be big enough compared to your weight cap, right? It's not like you're gonna be small, right? The
Mm-hmm.
problem would be like how full you would look, right? You may
Mm-hmm.
like, slightly stringy, so to speak, because that's because of your extremities. You have longer
Mm-hmm.
arms, and that's just your build. You cannot have the peaks of a midget, for example, and that's
Mm-hmm.
normal. So we'll play to what you're dealt with, but conditioning is always the right card to play, in my opinion. And also, if you were like super huge, if you were like 280, 290, for example, on stage, that's when you like fullness can carry you to some extent, because when people with that size oversaturate themselves, they start really looking like balloonish, right? They get
Mm-hmm.
that super, the balloon kind of look,
Ugly
right?
look.
yeah, that bubbly look that can somewhere, in some situations really carry them, right?
Mm.
But you're nowhere, nobody, that's not on Olympia level pro has the
Right.
size to pull that off. Like smaller guys, if they try that, they just look washed up and fat.
Yes, this is a
Like
very good point.
nobody's like, oh shit, I'm gonna go for fullness. What, you're just gonna look like shit. And
Yeah.
other trap is diuretics, for example. If you flatten your muscles out, you're just gonna look fatter.
Right.
So people, screw up like that. Uh, it's a just matter of being shredded, and that's it. And once your glycogen stores are full with just basic carb ups, then that's it. And that's why we'll have refeeds towards your prep. Once you're shredded, like when you're like 9-8% body fat, we'll start utilizing refeeds as a practice for the peak week. The
Hmm.
peak week wouldn't be something that's new to us. We'll know how you respond to, let's say, 300 grams of carbs. Will Everything will be very, nothing will be new to us. We'll just know what's gonna cause what, and there would be nothing that would surprise us. There wouldn't be like, oh, you ate this and that's why you had problems with your stomach, or any freak accident. So everything will be controlled, even your water intake, everything. Everything, as long as things are constant, that's when you're safe. The body does not like and wants to retain homeostasis. So anything drastic, anything that's really out of the gate, will cause a very severe, response by the body, and most often it's a bad response. That's why when people are in peak week, they tend to really look worse afterwards, because they do really fucked up shit that's way out of what they were doing. Cutting out water, or doing like extremely stupid carb loads, or not eating sodium for a week or 2 weeks.
Or just swallowing diuretics and not counting them.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So when you're doing something extremely drastic, your body is gonna tell you, dude, fuck you, and it's
Hmm.
also dangerous. So it's, and also the funny thing is, like, people are saying, oh, I experimented with this diuretic, or I experimented with this protocol. This is nothing new. Like, diuretics have been, their pharmacodynamics have been explained in medicine, right? We know how electrolytes work, how glycogen storages are, like how glycogen is being stored. You know, how would you store glycogen if you don't have water to be stored, right? Like a gram of carb pulls 3 grams of water. How what are you gonna store if you're not drinking water, taking diuretics, and then just slamming carbs? Like, what's gonna happen? So, like, people are
It's
experimenting.
insane how many people still fall into that trap
Like
every single time on that one.
you see this, if I do this, gravity will make it fall. So, like, what am I experimenting? Like, these things have been set in stone. And this goes back to what I was saying initially. People are really stupid in this field, so to speak, because they are just uneducated. They've never read a book, and they think that this is like, back in the old ages, where they saw a thunder and they assumed there's a thunder god in the sky, and they were experimenting with touching fire, what's gonna do. This is the same shit. Like, they're experimenting with things that have been proven. So, and it's crazy, and that's why they're either dying or ending up in the hospitals, hurting their clients. It's scary. Like, I saw that that Shelby coach, I think, was it like his client or something like that. Like, have you seen
Yeah,
that? Like,
yeah, I read
that
that real quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what improper diuretic
It's
protocols
just like,
can cause.
how is there no checks and balances with any of like the significant others just like questioning that amount of diuretic abuse? Like, if my girlfriend was being prepped by some guy and I'm like, wait, like you're doing diuretics all the time? Like,
That's the thing, though, is being uneducated on both ends. So when
yeah,
you're somebody that's rational, that's educated, your way of thinking, your pattern is rational. So you would question things that are way out of the norm, right? So, like, even you'd Google things. Like, for example, Even if I tell you, yo, Russo, use this drug and you never heard of it, you're gonna Google it. Like you
Right.
actually want to see what you're taking, how that works in your body, what that may potentially do. I get the whole notion of I'm gonna do everything my coach tells me in order to win, but you have to understand that you're still gonna face the implications, good and bad, from whatever you're doing. So might as well fucking know about it. You know, it's just irrational behavior or of both ends. So I'm not gonna blame people. I'm not gonna blame coaches because their clients are equally to blame.
Right.
So I
Monkey
don't want
see, monkey do.
to exactly. It's weird. Because would you go at a club and see the guy that's having the most fun, like naked, dancing and sweating, and asking for drugs? Because obviously, out of based off of the bodybuilder logic, just as the biggest guy at a party, at a rave, you would ask the happiest guy, right? Because you're
Right, 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 right.
just take a fucking drug that some dude gives you at a rave. Naturally, if you're a sane person, you would say you wouldn't do that, right? Why is it different in this situation? Like, I don't get it.
Well, we're the new generation, you know. I like my manifestation and goal is like I want to prep for everyone's fans, but like I think after me and Alec, you know, when we reach the level of knowledge we have, we know the damage that contest prep does to your personal health. And
Yeah,
for me, my channel is about documentation and progressing my physique,
yeah,
documenting everything that happens to me. You
yeah,
know, our goal moving forward is to leave as much harm mitigation information and the raw truth moving forward.
exactly. And also, you emphasize what's happening to me, like that's vlogging. But we'll also explain things that are also common but wrong, right? Because you're not gonna
Right.
fuck yourself up, but also we'll address things that are commonly seen, commonly done, and explain why things like that would cause problems, and why there's a proper, safer alternative, right? So in order to criticize on something, you'd also have to propose an alternative, right? So
Right.
that's how we'll go about things. It's not just about shitting on things, because also in this day and age, like there are channels, there are people, they're just skaters, they just shit on everything, right? But the thing is, when you're shitting on something, that's fine, but you also have to propose an alternative. Like, what do you stand for? What's your how do we go about things if that's not the way? So without proposing something in return, then you're just talking shit. So that's also not the way to go about things. So that's also important.
Well, you guys got a gem 50 minutes coach reveal. Like I said, this is going to be insane content moving forward. It's funny because Alec lives in Macedonia. I live in the States, Eastern Standard Time. We have been talking about doing this fucking type of content
Right.
like 3, 4 years. The planets have finally aligned. He's the coach. I'm just gonna listen to him as the Padawan, and we're gonna go back and forth this whole time. And like, I've been researching. I've been watching other people's prep vlogs. Ours is gonna blow it out of the water with information. It's not even gonna be funny. Like, I'm not gonna be like recording. Oh, I'm going to the store. Like literally every single fucking thing will be broken down in a scientific manner. Okay, Alex having me eat this because of this. Alex having me do these micronutrients for this reason. He's having me take these ancillary products to offset these side effects. We're
Yeah,
doing this fat burner. This is the PED cycle. This is the type of prep content everyone wants to see, but no one has still fucking made it, and it's in 2022. So I guess me and Alec are just gonna set the bar so damn high that we can't be touched. So I
exactly.
really appreciate everyone who stuck through all 50 minutes. Comment GOAT Alec down below if you made it this far. I'll see you guys in my next one.
Peace.